Hey guys, really quick. Josh, an employee here, blew the crap out of his truck. I mean, it blew up big time. He's a privateer. He funds that truck entirely out of his pocket and with the help of, some small sponsors here and there. But I mean, honestly, it's 99% his money in there. If you'd like to help out Josh, use promo code JOSH now through the end of August 2020, and you will save 2.5% on anything you order at powerdrivendiesel.com. Also, Todd and myself, we are going to match that 2.5% and send 2.5% over to Josh so that he can get his truck back on the road and get building. Trying to turn these lemons into lemonade, and if you'd like to help him, now's a great time to buy, and plus you get to save a tiny bit on your purchases. Thanks.
So we had this thing strapped down on the dyno, and we've been working on it all day. Shad got the intercooler piping done, huge thank you to him. We got it all put together, we boost leak checked it, we started the base tune, and we started at like 600 horse. And then we got up to almost like 1,000 on fuel only, and the density altitude today was like over 12,000 feet. So we were just out of turbo. The drive pressure was really high, and we weren't gaining anything. So we turned on a little bit of nitrous, just the progressive controller. We did a 1,312 horsepower hit. On a 88 jet at 60%, and we got a little bit more tuning done, so then we decided to just rerun it with a little bit more fuel. It was running a little lean, so we didn't even turn on any more fuel. Same nitrous setup, and right around 3,200. Ouch.
Ka-chow.
So here is one of the pistons. This actually came out of the engine block. It was like down over here. As you can, I don't know if you can see or not, but there's a oil slick on the ground. We have a push rod. We have part of the billet freeze plug.
On the positive note, you can see his crosshatch is really good.
Yeah, on this piece too, you can see the factory crosshatching. So essentially what happened is we put a hole through the block on both sides.
Yeah, he was standing on that side, and I was standing on this side, and I waved to him, and he waved back. Yeah. It's kind of special, but...
So it looks like we lost cylinder number 5. Cause to be determined, but I could say it doesn't look very good when you're...
one part of your piston's
there.
And I'm holding the other part.
And I haven't found the wrist pin yet, but gosh dang, I better find that thing. So I guess we'll have more teardown footage for you. It let go at around 3,300 RPM.
Yeah, like 1260 horsepower, 1,900 pound torque.
Yeah, so we weren't even really laying into it yet. The powers that be, we're gonna figure out what happened. Probably send some of these fragments off to Hamilton so they can do their failure analysis. And in the meantime, I'm probably gonna have to pull this motor out, pull the head off, and figure out how much of my life savings I just lost in about 1/10 of a second. So, as usual, another great day of learning on the dyno. But again, I'm glad it happened here on our dyno. Nobody got hurt. Everybody was standing far away. Nothing went through the turbine. This time I used bigger cross bolts because a lot of you guys didn't like how far that turbine wheel went. So stay tuned for some teardown, and we will get you an answer on what happened and how we're gonna fix it. Found it. I didn't forget. Let the internet know. I did not forget this. YouTube.
They look different from the shoulder.
Down first. Tell us what happened. I wasn't here. So you're running this engine on the dyno. We've already seen earlier in the video, blew up. You pulled the engine out. We've kind of gone through some failure analysis. We've reached out to a bunch of manufacturers, getting opinions on stuff. Where are we at today?
So we're at today, we know the engine let go around 3,250 RPM at 32 pounds
Around
of
3,250. That's
well,
a pretty close approximation.
So
was it actually 3,252 RPM or
I
51?
don't. So everything's shorted out. All I have is a screenshot of the MM3 before it lost power. So it said 3250 because then the engine just stopped. Like everything shut off. It was weird. I had never.
So what caused that? Because
So-
guys don't know. I don't even know what caused it.
So what happened is when the block failed and it broke out the side, a chunk of the block hit the starter. The starter then sent full voltage through the whole engine. I lost the AEM data logger, I lost the nitrous controller, the ECM, and then I lost the MM3.
So like
Pretty much every-
$8,000 or $10,000 worth of electronics, just like
pretty,
that.
Pretty much everything that I had put on there, I lost. Which again, you know, I don't think anybody went out of their way to make this fail. Looking at the pieces, I really do believe what happened was the block fractured and it caught the skirt. And then from there, I think the skirt got caught. It ripped one part of the skirt off, ripped the pin out. Not for lack of nothing. The bottom end looked great. Will got a chance to look at a lot of it. I mean, the bearings, you would send those again. I would.
Yeah,
probably.
the bearings are totally good. The crank, we haven't spun it to see if it's bent, but it still
Visually
spins
looks
true.
good.
Visually looks good, which could mean it's bent 10 thousandths. We don't know, but it at least spins true. It's not pinched, onto that rod journal enough to where it doesn't want to spin the rod.
And the girdle's flat. Everything but that one cylinder, like rods, pistons, even the head survived all that. The cam isn't broken, which again,
Yeah, if you guys haven't been around these blow-ups much, like that's a big deal, not having a broken cam or the bottom end. Normally when you window a block, that billet rod munches and basically saw cuts the engine right in half. It just beats it to death. And so the bottom end of that block is very rigid, combined with that thick Kenny's girdle you had on there. I mean, it was
recipe for success.
it was solid. It's just your weakest link is always your weakest link. It doesn't matter if everything else is built bulletproof. And it looks like there must have maybe some course shift or something. All we know is the block's about 70 thousandths thinner
Where it split.
than the OEM Cummins block we have at the same bore size there when we measured over the coolant passage. So there's a little thin there, and that seems to be where all of the problems started.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're doing a little failure analysis on this engine block, this Hamilton Cams competition wet block. Now there's some obviously some hardcore carnage here, but we want to look at it a little closer at the calipers. I've been looking at this, and kind of interesting the way some of these cracks are. If we kind of come in close here, we can see right along here, you can see how this is cracked along the firing here. It almost looks like this part of the block has pushed out into this area. It kind of made me clue in that it looks kind of thin right in this area on these other cylinders next to these coolant jackets. So what I got here is I got my little micrometers here, and I just wanted to measure on a good cylinder that we can measure. So here's number 6. So we're measuring from the finished bore. Now this is kind of a crude measurement But you can see we're about, 200 and, if we get this straight, 249 thousandths on number 6 bore. Kind of come down here, number 4, kind of in that realm, 259. As we keep going down the line here. Now, guys, this is kind of a crude measurement. This isn't like exact measurement, but, it's closer than eyeballing it. 250, 253. We get clear down here. 276. So then it just so happens we are building a 6.7 liter Cummins for a customer on an OEM Cummins block. And it just so happens to be a 20 over. So it is the exact same bore size as this. This is a 4230 bore, which is a 20 over. So come over here to this factory 6.7 Cummins block here. So right here, we're gonna measure right on the same coolant jacket on number 6. And we're getting 306 thousandths. So if I just let the calipers do the math here, 306, 0. Now let's go back here to number 6 on this block here. And we're showing 62 thousandths roughly. So when it comes to failure analysis, you never really know exactly what happened. You're just looking at cracks and clues, trying to figure things out. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of anybody's best guess, looking at cracks, measuring things, trying to figure out what happened. But we're probably not going to send any of this iron off for material analysis. Maybe Hamilton will do that. Anyways, let's go back to Josh and hear his final thoughts on this whole ordeal.
We should have known. I saw it bubbling when we were doing the hot retorque. I didn't think of anything. I was like, oh, maybe it's just like hot oil, or maybe the head gasket lifted up a little bit. So we did the hot retorque, but I think that was the first sign that it might have been already cracked and there was some stuff leaking in there. But I was like, I wasn't even worried. At the power level we were at, I was like, oh, it's fine. Like, this kind of stuff happens all the time. And yeah, at the end of the day, we learned a very valuable lesson on chasing 2,000 horsepower. It's not easy.
I mean, you've got an article in Engine Builder magazine of this very engine.
Yeah, it was
your quest for 2,000, and really it was
quest for 1,300.
1,300.
Yeah,
which is, I mean, it's still a lot of power, guys. Don't get us wrong. But when you've been there several times in other combinations, I mean, even the high tensile Hamilton block that's not rated for that high, it survived what, 1683? 1683. So we take the lesser block to that, you were just expecting higher numbers. But
yeah.
Stuff happens.
That was probably
different.
I mean, I honestly, of all the engines I've broken, this was probably the least nervous I ever was, because I was like, we've got a solid plan, did everything to the T.
Got the best Wagler rods out there.
Yeah.
You've got these steel pistons that you can't hurt. And truth be told, the pistons look good when you pull them out. The other 5, that's why we don't think a piston stuck and pulled. The rod was all stretched on the small end, so that's why we don't, that's why we think it caught a skirt, because it's tough to stretch a billet rod like that. I mean, we've ripped aluminum pistons in half that didn't look like that.
I mean, it made it almost a ½ inch longer on the rod.
So anyways, what does all this mean? We're trying to help Josh out, and it's hard because he's an employee. He's not power-driven diesel. He just works here, and he's paid for all this out of his own money. He's a privateer. So Todd and I thought the way we could help Josh is from now through all the month of August, we're going to have a 2.5% off sale. Everything on the website is 2.5% off if you use the coupon code JOSH, J-O-S-H. Then Power Driven is going to match that 2.5% and give it to Josh so that he can try to get that truck back on the road and competing this year, because Josh loves to compete and we love to see him out there pushing the limits. So everything you make, you get to save a little bit. So if you call in, talk to Josh on the phone, he's going to say, let's put in the Josh code. It's going to save you 2.5%. It's going to save him, or it's going to basically
start paying down the new bill.
Start paying down the new bill of this, because I mean, he's out, well over $20,000 on this ordeal, and like, I feel bad for him. So that's what we're going to try. So now through August 2020, if you feel bad for Josh, you like seeing all the carnage, the turbos he's blown up. I mean, this guy goes through it. It's amazing. But at the same time, at some point, a man's got to stop the bleeding, and so maybe we can all bleed. And hey, 2.5% off, that's better than nothing. That's a nice little incentive to use the code. So help us out. Any other final thoughts before we
Again, if you use the code, I really do appreciate it. It does mean a lot, especially just trying to push the limits with limited pockets. I know we got a little carried away on this build, but I was hoping for the best, and man, I got kind of the worst. But as always, guys, I hope you like this. I hope you learned something cool, and hopefully some other people want to try and make some big power. If you do, give us a call. We can get you set up. And like, subscribe, comment what you think, and let me know. I mean, was this a full 10 out of 10 send? I mean, I'm getting close to Todd's level.
It was a pretty big send. I've never blown up anything like that, so you've definitely surpassed my ability to destroy blocks and Cummins parts for sure.
And in the end, I would just like to point out nobody was hurt at all. Nobody.
No injuries.
No injuries at all, which is honestly
Not even the fenders, because they were off the truck,
Yeah.
and so nothing got hurt there either.
Yep. I did dent my oil pan though. Just a little dimple. But we'll get it fixed. Thanks for watching, guys. Till next time.